China's new invention could replace the air conditioner forever. Not a more efficient AC unit, not a smarter thermostat, a material that cools a surface below the temperature of the air around it, using zero electricity by doing something almost nobody outside physics labs knows is even possible: dumping heat directly into outer space. Air conditioning already eats close to 10% of all the electricity humanity generates, and in the United States, that number is even sharper. Nearly 90% of American homes run some form of air conditioning, and on the hottest days, AC alone can account for close to a third of a household's entire electric bill. That's the system this invention is walking into. In November 2024, a team of scientists from the Chinese Academy of Sciences, working with researchers from Peking University, Stanford, and the City University of New York, published a paper in the journal Science that solved the problem engineers had been stuck on for years. Before I get into what they built, guess this: without any power source at all, how many degrees below the outside air temperature do you think a passive cooling material can actually get a surface? Drop your guess in the comments, because most people guess way too low, and the real number is coming up. The heat we can't stop making. Every air conditioner works the same basic way. It doesn't destroy heat, it just moves it, pulling warm air from inside your house and dumping it outside, using a compressor that burns through electricity to do it. The more people run AC, the more heat gets pushed into cities. The hotter those cities get, and the more AC everyone needs to run. It's a loop that feeds itself. And in the US alone, it's projected to keep growing as summers get longer and hotter. There's a second problem hiding inside the first one. Standard air conditioners only work well on rooftops or open horizontal surfaces, because that's the only angle where existing passive cooling materials can effectively release heat upward. Walls, car exteriors, and clothing, the vertical surfaces that make up most of a building or a city, have never had a real passive cooling option. Engineers had tried for years to build a cooling material that worked standing up instead of lying flat. Every attempt lost most of its cooling power the moment you turned it sideways. That's the number I asked you to guess. A well-designed passive radiative cooler, under the right conditions, can drop a surface's temperature several degrees below the surrounding air, with no power, no compressor, no moving parts at all. If your guess was close, that's exactly the kind of physics this Chinese-led team was chasing. They just needed to make it work on a wall instead of a roof. The invention, here's the breakthrough. The team, led by Professor Li Wei at the Changchun Institute of Optics, Fine Mechanics, and Physics, built what they call a directional radiative cooler, a material engineered to aim its heat loss straight up toward the sky instead of leaking it sideways into the ground or nearby buildings the way older cooling materials do. In testing, it outperformed both conventional radiative cooling material and plain white paint, the two previous go-to options for passive cooling. The physics behind it works because of something called the atmospheric window, a narrow band of infrared wavelength where Earth's atmosphere is nearly transparent. Heat radiated in that specific band skips past the atmosphere entirely and escapes into the cold of space, instead of bouncing back down and reheating the surface. Regular materials radiate heat in all directions and lose most of that advantage. This one is built to funnel almost all of it straight through that window. According to Li, the goal isn't to replace every air conditioner overnight. It's to cut how hard AC units have to work in the first place, by keeping walls, vehicle exteriors, and even fabric several degrees cooler before the compressor ever has to turn on. The twist: here's what makes this different from the cooling paint headlines that show up every summer. Most passive cooling coatings only work on flat, upward-facing surfaces like roofs. This material is specifically engineered for vertical surfaces, which is most of what actually surrounds us. Walls make up far more surface area on a building than the roof does. Car doors and hoods are vertical. Clothing is essentially a vertical surface wrapped around a person. A cooling technology that finally works standing up instead of just lying flat isn't a small tweak. It's the difference between cooling a rooftop and cooling an entire city. Where this leaves us. This isn't a product on shelves yet, it's a peer-reviewed proof of concept, and turning a lag material into siding, car paint, or clothing fabric at scale is still years of engineering away. But the core problem, a passive cooling material that finally works on vertical surfaces, was considered one of the real walls standing between radiative cooling and actually replacing mechanical air conditioning. That wall just came down. So here's my question for you. If a wall, a car, or even your shirt could stay several degrees cooler without using a single watt of electricity, WART is the only custom cooling material that likes the cause of radiative cooling process. It's over or edges. It's the best cooling radiative company. Is there a radiator? Tell me in the comments, and let's see which one wins.